Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is Gigi Smile. This is part two of my episode six review. We know episode six has two timelines, the past and the present. The past involves Lydia and Vidala, and the present is the present day at the Aunt Lydia school. This video will focus on the present or the current timeline. So we see the girls entering the school in the normal, very rigid military style formation. It's the morning after the school dance, and the girls are now contemplating their future. So the girls are really worried about which commanders the ants are going to pair them with and who they will be really forced to marry. Becca mentions that she does not want to get married. And I think it's the first time that some of the girls are hearing this because they seem very surprised. And they say something to the effect that she's not thinking clearly. Um, they are worried about getting paired with a commander who is in the colonies, but this conversation shows that even though these girls are very naive about life, they know enough that some of these men are very cruel and can make their lives very miserable. It's at this point that Lydia makes herself known, and the girls realize that she has heard everything they've said about marriage feeling like a prison, and they are suddenly scared. And then we see the ants going to their first meeting to discuss the marriages. We see all the ants sitting at a round table with those dreaded dossiers for each girl and each commander. And every time I see those dossiers, I just want to burn them all. But Lydia narrates that even though she is a mystery to the girls, she knows the girls. And she's always listening. So we know she hears everything. And she says that Jehoshaphat wants power, Huldah wants security, but she is not sure of what Agnes wants. And it makes me wonder, does she really take the girl's desire into consideration when she makes these matches? Or is she worried about the parents? We know the ants have tremendous amount of power, but I wonder how she wields that power. During their deliberations, the ants all take a smoke break, and I'm struck by how they most appear to be chain smokers, which I associate with stress. But Vidala mentions that Commander Maddox has interest in Becca. And Lydia can't believe what she's hearing because Maddox was the one that was giving Becca alcohol at the dance. So, in her frustration, she sends Vidala to certify Huldah. This is the first time that we see the certification process. And it's also Daisy's first time, and we see her facial reactions throughout the process. But I noticed that once Vidala has confirmed that Holder has started her menstrual cycle, she has a look of a worried expression on her face just for a brief moment. It's worry and it's sadness because I think she knows what's waiting for Huldah. Huldah is very happy that she is now a green because of, as we know, she's been taught that her only value in Gilead is to bear children. So she's ecstatic that she is now eligible to be paired and married this season. So as they return back to the classroom, Vidala is going to test her kind of the same way that they did with Hannah and the day that she was certified when we had the infamous dirty girl scene. So Huldah must decide Shunammite's punishment for hitting Jehoshaphat the night before at the dance. And you can see she doesn't want to do this. And it's another reminder of the child abuse that goes on in Gilead, where one child is forced to inflict violence on another child. So the punishment that she decides on is that Shunammite's hands should be bound and whipped. So Vidala orders her to hold her hands down, and Vidala whips them. Lydia is watching the beating happening to Shunammite from outside the room, and she's perfectly okay with it. And she starts talking about how she learned that friends in Gilead don't work. And it goes back into the past timeline, which I discussed in my prior video. Later in the episode, we get a shot of the girls in the cafeteria. In the cafeteria is also Lydia. And this episode really stresses how vigilant Lydia is in listening, eavesdropping, watching all the girls and the ants. It stresses her vigilance. So when Shunammite comes in, her hands are bandaged, but she reports to the girls that she heard in the nurse's office that Penny has gone into early labor. And Hulda is very happy. She's very excited until the girls tell her that it's too early. And it shows how naive she is. Hulda is a girl who seems to really not focus too much on reality. And I worry about her mental health. But we also find out that it's Penny's third pregnancy, and the girls start to pray. We see the ants are back at work with the pairing of the girls and the commanders. And Vidala mentions in this meeting Hannah. And what are they going to do if someone asks about Hannah's lineage? And Lydia responds that she's the daughter of a handmaid. Vidala points out that she isn't just any handmaid. Lydia again chastises Vidala, and she responds that their role is to prevent inbreeding and keep the children of Gilead healthy or safe, which tells me that the girls have brothers or other male relatives in Gilead that they do not know about, that are either being raised by other families or that are part of other families by choice. Vidala gives her a look that seems to show that she is getting very impatient with Lydia. And based on the past timeline that we saw in this episode that I've discussed in my other video, we know why. So there seems to be a lot of brewing hostility between the two women. And then we see Commander Judd walk into the room. When Judd walks in, all of the ants are very surprised. And Aunt Lydia is asking if there's something that she could help him with. And as he starts picking up folders, we find out that he is pulling the folders of the commanders because they have been sent to the front to fight Mayday. And I get a lot of pleasure from that. First, that they cannot be married to these little girls. And secondly, it shows that Mayday is making strides. But he does say that the commanders are being sent to the front. And I wonder where the front is. In Handmaid's Tale, it was in Chicago. And I'm wondering where the big battle is happening now. When Judd gives the folders to Vidala instead of Lydia, it sends Lydia a very real warning. But Lydia takes control and asks about his dear wife and her experiencing pregnancy complications. He seems visibly upset, and Lydia gently reminds him to let her deal with these women's issues. She tells him to rest his mind And it's kind of a reminder of what we saw in the past timeline, where she kind of says, "This is what I can do for you, my employer. Let me take on these women's issues. You have more important things to do." And he does acquiesce. Estee informs the aunts that Penny has lost the baby. Lydia immediately goes to Judd to offer condolences. But she also asks about a handmaid. She wants to know if it's time for them to introduce a handmaid to his household. Judd says it's not in her purview anymore, and she says that it's something that she could arrange just between friends. But we know that Lydia does not believe in friends in Gilead, and it's just her ingratiating herself to Judd after what she saw Vidala and the exchange between Vidala and Judd. But he declines, and I have to wonder why he's declining. Is it because the handmaids are a little older and he's just a damn pervert that wants younger girls? We don't know yet. But she also takes the opportunity to remind him how he can always count on her. So we see Hannah deciding to break protocol and shows courage once again. And it's a reminder of her mother. Now, the girls are just at the mercy of the aunts and not have a say in who their husbands will be. But Hannah asks Lydia if Garth, her brave guardian, could be made eligible. And now Lydia knows what Hannah wants. She was not sure earlier in the episode. And Lydia's facial expressions are hysterical to watch because you can see that she has a little bit of admiration for Hannah, and you can see the light bulb working in her head. I'm wondering, will she do this? And yes, she makes Garth eligible despite Vidala's objections. And again, the episode continues to show the animosity between them, and that is going to play in future episodes, in my opinion. But the question is, will Lydia pair Garth with Hannah or another girl? If she pairs him with Hannah, it's very risky. He's a new commander with very little power. And I wonder what the Mackenzie household will think about this. I can't imagine her father would be happy. And it's a risk to Lydia. But I also remember the episode where he did show some concern about Hannah's future. And if he knows that she is happy with the pairing, will he allow it? So that all remains to be seen. The girls are outside the school waiting for their guardians to pick them up. And Hulda mentions that she is scheduled for a fitting and then a visit to the dentist to get her teeth whitened, which we all know means Dr. Grove. And Hannah's expression immediately changes to complete worry. And I wonder now that she's opened the door of communication to Lydia if she is going to tell Lydia what Dr. Grove did to her. We then see Estee with Daisy, and they are discussing the challenges of the day. And Daisy is ready with her response. She says that she prays that they are worthy of his gifts, even if they don't seem like gifts at first. Estee then praises her for her exemplary work. And she shares with Daisy that she is not originally from Gilead, that she considers herself to be the original Pearl Girl. And this absolutely shocks Daisy. And she probably is wondering whether Estee is Mayday. My guess is that she is not. And I hope that Daisy does not let her guard down with her. We see the ants toasting that they've completed all of the matches, and Lydia is celebrating that the bloodlines have all been checked and all the matches are clean, which again is a reminder that they are related to some of these people. So We see Vidala, and her face does not look happy. She is not celebrating. And as the folders are distributed to the ants on their way out to inform the families, Vidala still looks very anxious. And we find out why, because Lydia has elected her to deliver the news to the Mackenzies. What news will that be? We don't know, but Vidala does not look happy in delivering it. Once the ants have left to deliver the news to the families, we see Lydia going into a safe, and she pulls out a journal where she is keeping a written record of everyone's actions, including the commanders. And she references Jezebel's, and after what they did at Jezebel's, she decided to keep a record. Now, I don't think this is the first time Lydia has kept a record of things. We saw in The Handmaid's Tale how she would have the handmaids feel free to come to her to report any wrongdoing or any upsetting actions by either the handmaids or the commanders. And we also saw her, if I remember correctly, kind of blackmail Lawrence when she wanted to get back into being the lead aunt when she was sidelined. So this is not the first time that we have seen her do this, but it's the first time that we see her with the written journal. So we will see what happens, and especially the match with Hannah. I'm very curious to see what Lydia's decision is about that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the review of episode 7. If you like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Take care.